Hello, good morning. Welcome to Mrs. Mack's Anatomy 2 class. We are doing this because of the coronavirus. We have been sent home for the first 2 weeks of this mod, so we are going to be doing some virtual learning. Obviously, you can't ask me any questions, but after you watch the video, feel free to email me and I will be checking in with you guys as we go. Okay, hopefully you can see this board, and if you can't, let me know right away and I will make corrections. Okay, so we're going to be working on chapter 24 today. That's the endocrine system. Endocrine system is the hormonal system of your body. It works with your nervous system hand in hand because the nervous system helps fight or flight. Endocrine system is the rest and digest side. Okay, so there's two types of glands in the body. There are endocrine, and we know that the word endo means within. Okay, these are hormones that are secreted within the body. And then we have our exocrine glands. Exocrine, exo, right, is exit. So these are glands that lead to the outside world. So you have your sweat glands, okay, sudiferous. You have your oil glands, your sebaceous. Okay, let's write that. Sudiferous and sebaceous. And then you have your, Wanda, help me out here. So I can't pronounce it. Your earwax, ceruminous. For the life of me, I will never be able to say that word. So for those of you who can't pronounce AP terms, I feel you. I gotcha. I'm right there too. Okay, ceruminous. Wanda, is that right? Wanda's the only one I know who knows how to say this word. Okay, so we're not going to be talking about the exocrine glands today because we covered those in the integumentary system, but I just wanted to remind you that there are two sets, exocrine leading to the outside. We're going to be talking about endocrine. Okay, so if you need to write these down, pause the video, go back, rewind, and write those down. Okay. I have to say, it feels weird not having people in front of me. We're gonna make it through, don't worry. Okay, so endocrine glands. Let me tilt that a little bit so you can see. Okay, so endocrine glands are glands that are in the body. They work with the brain. The brain tells them what to do, and they secrete hormones. Okay, and hormones are what keeps the body in homeostasis, right? We don't want to get too high because then we'd be in a negative feedback loop. The body's not happy with that, right? It likes to be in homeostasis. So each gland in the body produces one or more hormones. And we want to make sure that those hormones are behaving and acting correctly. When we don't have hormones that are functioning properly or glands, we start getting into autoimmune issues, and that's not good. All right, so let's list the glands first. We'll talk about where they're located, what they are. I'm just gonna grab my computer here, okay? So the first gland is the hypothalamus. Okay, make sure you can see that. Good, okay. Then the next gland we have is the pituitary gland. Okay, this guy is one of the major players. He's very important. There's an anterior side of the pituitary and a posterior side of the pituitary. So we're going to talk about each one of those sides, what they do, what they release, and stuff like that. You have your pineal gland, or some people say pineal. It's fine either way. Okay, after that we go down to the thyroid, which is located right here in front of your windpipe. With the thyroids, you have the parathyroids. Okay, this one is anterior, and this one is posterior. Okay, parathyroids sit on the back side of the thyroid. They have a special job separate from the thyroid that we'll talk about. you have your thymus gland. Okay, now remember, adults don't always have a thymus. It sits right here. It assists with white blood cell maturation, but as we get older and our adaptive immunity kicks in, we don't always need the thymus, so it can shrink or totally disappear. So you may have one or you may not. Children have it though, because obviously they need to fight infection much more than we do. Then we have the pancreas. Okay, that helps our sugar production. And then we have our reproductive glands, ovaries and testes. Okay, these guys don't come online till puberty. So they sort of stay quiet until then. Let me cut them on this side so you can see. Okay, so these guys will start at, depending on genetics, about age 10, usually more like 12 or 13. It depends on your family history. And of course, the stuff we're eating right now has made our pubescent teenagers go into puberty a little bit earlier than probably normal. Okay, so we're going to talk about all these individually and the type of hormone they produce, what they do, and how they keep our body running. Okay, and a lot of them work together, so you'll sort of see that. Okay, hold on. There we go. Just trying to make our slideshow here. Okay, bear with me. Okay, so I'm going to erase these guys for now. We'll come back to them later. We're going to talk about the hypothalamus and the pituitary. Okay, I'm going to move pituitary down here a little bit. Pituitary. Okay, can you see that? Yep, good. Okay, all right, just bring it back a little bit. Okay, so the hypothalamus is what we call commander-in-chief. It's the main gland of the body, okay? It is located in the cerebrum, in the area of the brain called the diencephalon, okay? Remember that from nervous system. Diencephalon is in the cerebrum, and it sort of is in between the frontal, the parietal, and the temporal lobes. Okay, not really the occipital. So the hypothalamus is also known as the commander-in-chief. Okay, write that down. It's important because it has been an NCLEX question. Okay, very important. Commander-in-chief. Can you see that? Okay, good. Sorry, I'm trying to get this at a good angle. You can zoom in, I think, if you need to. Right, commander-in-chief. The reason it's called the commander-in-chief is because it is the head honcho. It works with all the other hormones. It's the boss, the president, the CEO, the most important one of the whole group. Okay, its job is to make 2 hormones. Okay, now pay attention here because I said make 2 hormones. I didn't say release them. Okay, so right now we're just making them. Okay, the 2 hormones that it makes are oxytocin and ADH. Okay, ADH stands for anti-diuretic hormone. Okay, and oxytocin is the feel-good hormone. Okay, also it begins uterine contractions in a woman when she's pregnant and ready to give birth. Okay, so if you've ever been dilated or if you've ever been given medication to begin contractions, oxytocin is the one they're pumping you full of. Okay, it opens up the cervix, allows that baby to drop down and begins the contractions, right? Smooth muscle. So you're using forced peristalsis to get that baby out. Okay, sorry guys. the other thing it's good for, oxytocin, is your feel-good hormone. Okay, when you fall in love, oxytocin is released. When you see your child for the first time, oxytocin is released. It's the happy hormone. Okay, if you eat chocolate, oxytocin gets released because it makes us feel good. Okay, also, unfortunately, using drugs also releases oxytocin, but you get a false sense of happiness. Okay, it's artificially induced, so to speak. So, feel-good hormone. Anti-diuretic hormone, your ADH, this works with your kidneys, believe it or not. And we know that kidneys regulate blood pressure through dilation of the blood vessels. So anti-diuretic hormone releases water into the system. So a lot of people who are on high blood pressure medication are actually on what they call a water pill. It makes you go to the bathroom and urinate because that will bring your blood pressure down. So ADH is the hormone that tells the kidneys, hey, you got to let go, you got to release, we need some fluid out of the body here, okay? So ADH. So now hypothalamus makes these, but it doesn't release them, okay? When we get to the pituitary, we'll get into that a little bit. Okay, so hypothalamus and the pituitary are sort of connected. Okay, if you look at your packet, you will see a picture of the anterior and posterior pituitary. Okay, if you look at the posterior pituitary, it's actually connected to the hypothalamus. So it's technically not considered one gland, but really it is. Okay, if you look at the picture. Okay, so pituitary. We have the anterior side, which is more towards the frontal lobe, and then you have the posterior side. Okay, so right now let's just look at posterior side because we're talking about the hypothalamus. The posterior side is what releases oxytocin and ADH. Okay, so the hypothalamus makes it posterior pituitary. I sure hope this isn't coming out backwards on your screen. I'll have to check that. Posterior pituitary is the one that lets it go in the body. It releases it. And then the hypothalamus will tell it to shut off when it registers that enough fluid or hormone has been released and the body has been connected. Okay? So hypothalamus works exactly with the posterior pituitary gland to release those hormones that it made. Okay, any questions on that? Just rewind and go back and watch it again. Okay. All right, so I'm going to get rid of posterior for right now, and let's talk about anterior. Okay, so anterior pituitary does a lot of different things. Okay, the pituitary gland is known as the master gland. Okay, so it's sort of like the VP or the supervisor to the CEO. It's buddies with the hypothalamus, okay? The reason that is because the pituitary gland is master of all those other glands that we just mentioned. The pancreas, the sex hormones, the thymus, the thyroid. The anterior pituitary controls all those glands. Okay, not on its own, still getting instructions from the boss, right? The hypothalamus is telling the pituitary, you know, yo, we need some more insulin in the body, go get it. Okay, it's sort of like the general in the army. Okay, he's not telling the soldiers what to do, he's telling his team what to do, and then the team goes and tells the soldiers what to do. Okay, sort of like our school, right? Vanessa's the big boss, so she'd be the hypothalamus. Mary would be the pituitary gland, and then Mary sort of tells the program directors, and the program directors tell the teachers. Okay, sort of like that. Okay, So our master gland makes a lot of different things. Okay, it makes, sorry, I need my glasses. It makes growth hormone. Okay, also called GH, you'll see that written a lot. Okay, and growth hormone does just that, determines how big or tall we're gonna be, along with genetics. Okay, so size, shape, bone structure. Okay, the problem we get into is if something is wrong with the growth hormone. Okay, if you get a tumor on your pituitary gland, this may not shut off. Okay, if this doesn't shut off, you grow excessively. Okay, sometimes that's how we get people who are almost 8 feet tall because they've had a tumor on the pituitary that was unknown and unfound until they get really big and then the doctors finally figure it out. Or it could be the opposite. If there's not enough growth hormone, you get dwarfism and disabilities like that. Okay, so growth hormone, of course, kicks in when you're first born and usually shuts off. In females, it'll shut off around 18 years old. In males, it shuts off around 21. Okay, give or take a year, everybody's different. But yeah, that's why guys are slow to start, because they grow longer than we do. Okay, so until you get to high school, if you're a tall girl like me, you have all the short guys until they hit their growth spurt. Okay, but by 21, everybody's usually done growing. Okay, so that's growth hormone, anterior pituitary. Don't forget. Okay, now we have adrenocorticotropic. That's a big word. Adrenocorticotropic. Okay, also known as ACTH. Okay, adreno, right? What does that tell you? Where do we find adreno? In the adrenals of the kidneys. So this is a steroid. Okay, what do steroids do in the body? Come on, I know you know. What do steroids do in the body? Okay, there are fight or flight hormones. They keep us protected and get us out of danger. Okay, again, it's good until it doesn't shut off. So we want to get out of that fight or flight stage back into our rest and digest stage. So these secrete hormones such as cortisol, adrenaline, epinephrine, and norepinephrine. Okay, so cortisol, adrenaline, epinephrine, norepinephrine, these are your stress hormones. Okay, we don't like stress in the body. Okay, what happens when we stress ourselves out? We get sick. This actually lowers your immune system. So we don't like it. We don't want it to be there unless it's an emergency and we have to get out of someplace really quickly. Okay, so adrenocorticotropic hormone. Okay, any questions on that? Nope. I know, because you can't ask me. Just kidding. All right, let's move on. Okay, we'll get rid of these guys. I'm trying to keep this in a small space so you can see it. Okay, next one is, now again, these are all anterior pituitary still, okay? Thyroid stimulating hormone. Okay, also known as TSH. Okay, you're going to hear that a lot. Okay, so the thyroid in the body controls metabolism. Now, what is metabolism? Okay, metabolism is the rate of how you process your food. Okay, how fast you burn calories, because a lot of people's natural body type will depend on how fast they can process this stuff. Okay, so you can say to somebody, I have an underactive thyroid, that's why I'm overweight. But really, you know it's not, it's diet. Okay, your thyroid is meant to function to keep you at your genetic weight. Okay, some people do burn calories very quickly. They can eat whatever they want and never gain weight. Children have a very high metabolism. That's why they're always running around like hummingbirds, because their metabolism is very high. Eventually, I hate to tell you, it will come down. As we age and get older, that metabolism will slow down. We start packing on the pounds if we don't stay active, okay? All right, there was something else. Oh yeah, iodine, okay? The thing that feeds the thyroid is iodine, okay, which is salt. So some salt in the body is good. Not all salt is good. You want to really stay away from table salt, the white Morton salt in the can, because it can boost your blood pressure a little bit because it holds water, causing more pressure. If you use pink Himalayan salt or sea salt, anything where you have to grind that salt, that's usually the better option, and it's full of iodine, really feeds that thyroid and keeps it happy and working great, okay? Okay, the other thing it uses is thyroxine. Okay, that's also one of the hormones that it uses. Sorry, lost my marker there. Okay, thyroxine. Okay, so anything with thyro in it, thyro is your clue that it's pertaining to the thyroid. Okay, does that make sense? Hopefully. Okay, beautiful. All right, let's move on. Okay, follicle stimulating hormone. Sorry, I'm trying to write in dark colors so that you'll see it. Follicle stimulating hormone. Okay, do you know what the abbreviation for that is? Come on, I know you can do it. Right, FSH. Okay, follicle stimulating hormone triggers estrogen and progesterone. These are both hormones in the female anatomy. Okay, so yes, I know that the gonads and the ovaries produce these hormones, but it's the anterior pituitary that sends that message of, hey, we need some estrogen here, let's start making some and releasing it. Okay, so in men, it will be testosterone. Okay, so follicle stimulating hormone not only releases female hormones, but helps trigger male hormones as well. And again, won't start coming online until puberty. So for the first 10, 12 years, it's just dormant. There's no message from the anterior pituitary telling it to turn on. Okay? All right, good. Then we keep going. Next one. Luteinizing hormone. Let me see how I spell that. Can you see that? Yeah, okay. Luteinizing hormone, also known as LH. Okay, that one is also for women. It stimulates ovulation. Ovulation. Okay, again, uses estrogen and progesterone. Okay, so ovulation, again, puberty. Okay, this is when the egg gets released from the ovary. It travels through that fallopian tube, which we'll talk about later on. And if it does not get implanted with a sperm, eventually it'll come out of the woman's body and create her menstrual cycle. Okay, but ovulation is when the egg is released from the ovary. Okay, every month you have an egg gets released from either side of your uterus, and again, if it doesn't get fertilized, it just expels itself. You have your period. If it does get fertilized, it will implant in that uterine wall, okay, and grow a little baby for us. Okay, so luteinizing hormone helps ovulation. Okay, again, if I'm going through this too quickly, please stop the video, go back and look at it.